Describe myself with 5 words: shy, ambitious, lazy, creative, and kind. How to spot an INFP? Well, we are usually the person who's quiet, obviously. We'll often be the girl or guy kind of sitting back doing their own thing. We may have a very stoic looking face upon initially meeting us because we have FI, and that can kind of seem ironically very emotionless. But that's how you really spot one initially. I've never seen another INFP in person, so I can't be for sure. This is just maybe how you could possibly tell if I was an INFP. Also, if we're very disorganized, as you could see, this is all my college stuff, so very disorganized. If we're late, that's a big one. If we're late, I mean, obviously, like, there's more to it than any of that, but like, INFPs can be seen as very lazy and unmotivated and late for everything. And if we're introverted, if we're really weird and quirky with like certain things, like let's say I'm always talking about like something like and theorizing about everything, like, oh, what if this happened? And really like weird things that people only think about when they're high. Like any is very weird like that, I think. So I've been told like many times, like, do you do drugs? Like, are you high right now? Like, bro, you smell like straight up pot, like, and I don't do drugs, but it's like, I guess it's just my personality. Like, it's just really eccentric and weird and introverted. But INFPs can kind of blend in though. We aren't just always quiet. I can be very social when I want to be, but it drains me. So yeah, I could go into it more, if I wanted to talk about different things like astrology, but this is an MBTI channel, so I won't do that. But yeah, that's how you can maybe spot an INFP. Of course, you will never know unless you truly ask them. So yeah, there you go. What is the best thing about being an INFP? Oh boy, everything. Personally, I like the creativity that comes with it. I like the I don't know, creativity. I like the imagination. I like the fact that I can spontaneously come up with things whenever I want. Like, I can just think of like stories just in my head. I can play them out. I literally have a series that I play out in my head. It's like, there's a car coming by. They're gonna think I'm weird, but like, oh, they're on their phone. Like, I can't even stay focused. But like, I can think of stuff and it just happens, and it's so easy to put together. And I could put it together and just piece it, and it makes sense, and it's a story. And also, like, I can really kind of understand where other people are coming from, even if it's a perspective that not a lot of people agree with. I'm not going to use any examples because I could possibly offend a lot of people, but I can understand where people come from. I think that's a really good trait to have, because we can prevent a lot of disharmony and a lot of things like that. I'm also a 9-wing 1, so I'm very harmonious. I like to be harmonious and things like that. Those are some good traits of an INFP. Uh, so yeah, that would be it for this question. What is passion for you? In my opinion, passion is something that gives us meaning. It is something that I think anybody can benefit from. Like for me, passion would be writing and acting and just expression, freedom of expression, freedom of feeling and thought. And personally, why I like writing is because I can convey my messages through a story, through characters, through plot. And why I like acting, is because I can kind of live the character. I can live the expression. I love books and movies, and I don't really like to read, but I like the idea of a book or a movie or a TV show, because you're kind of stepping into another person's shoes and you're kind of living life the way they would. And I like that. I like that idea. And I mean, it's just really cool to me. And I like playing a different character. I like being somebody else. I don't know if that's FI allows me to do that very well. I don't know. But yeah. The worst thing about being an INFP, definitely one of the worst things, while it's on my mind, is being a perfectionist. This can get really annoying. I can send a text message and it has to be perfect. Everything has to be perfect. The words have to be perfect, because the thing about INFPs is that we're so analytical about ourselves and even about other people, but especially about ourselves. We are perfectionists. At least I am. So it can be very frustrating and stressful when we have to see ourselves as perfect. And if we're not perfect, then there's something wrong. There's something wrong with us. And, in our minds, really there isn't, but we tend to think that way. Another, I guess, weakness I would say I have is with confidence and not seeing enough in myself. And this is a big one with INFPs. We can be very pessimistic about ourselves, and I'm generally like an optimistic person, but but I don't always see that in myself, and I don't always see things in myself. So INFPs really need like a motivator. They really need somebody to come in there and say, hey, like, you're worth something. You can do something. Because I tend to like to motivate other people. I like to tell other people, like, hey, you could do this. You have a lot to offer the world. But it's funny because I don't really see that in myself. And I don't know. I mean, I've been told I can do that. And but INFPs really need to be coached by people into really knowing their worth and knowing like that they have value and feeling that, because I've always kind of felt like I needed to have some kind of value, and if I didn't, then I was worthless, right? Like, I have to provide something for people or for the world, or else I'm nothing, and that's the way I always saw myself, but I never knew how, and I never knew if I could. But I think INFPs really need that. They really need that coach, and they really need that person there to motivate them, to inspire them. Another thing is we can be very unmotivated if we don't want to do something, and also disorganized and things like that. Very lazy and apathetic if we are either unhealthy or if we are in a state where we don't really see much. We can also be cynical. So this is why I think an INFP really needs a motivator. They really need somebody there to to really be there for them. So, yeah. How do I tell the difference between fantasy and reality? Well, I've been told that my Enneagram is a lot more practical than many INFPs. Like whereas fours are very, they can be very not grounded, I guess you could say. I don't feel so caught up in my imagination that I forget about the real world. A piece of fuzz. But, like, for me, like, I'm still a dreamer, and I still like to imagine things, and I still like to dream. But I don't think that I'm really so confused by reality and fantasy. I personally believe everything's real. I believe if you can imagine it, somewhere out there it exists. I think that I believe in multiverse theory. I've actually had a few stories of my own relating to that. So I believe it, and it's like big things too. And I believe in like law of attraction, all that, and I believe that our imagination is like maybe like a fifth dimensional tool. I like to think of it as something like that, and the fifth dimension transcends time, so parallel timelines exist, and imagination is actually, maybe we are tapping into the fifth dimension, into other realities, into other worlds, into completely different, spaces and time and realities and things. And I love to imagine all that, so I don't really like, I guess I don't really get caught up in fantasy so much to the point to where I forget about reality though. I'm always thinking about, things in my head, but I'm not really to the point to where I can't focus on anything in real life. I do like to daydream. I do like to imagine. I do like to pretend I'm in other worlds. I like to pretend that I'm doing all these things. You remember how I said I had that like series in my head, whatever? Like that's actually, I like to think of parallel reality that I'm in, and we're doing all these cool things and like dragons in parallel world. We even go to a parallel world in that series. So it's like I like to think about all this stuff. But yeah, that's to answer this question. Who is my hero? I don't really have a hero. I mean, I've had people that I've looked up to in the past, but I don't really have a hero per se. I think personally that we should be our own heroes. I think that out of everybody in our lives, the one we will spend the most time with is ourselves. You can have your parents, and they could be the most amazing parents ever. They could have, just the most amazing skills and do everything for you and just love you and support you. But I mean, they're not always going to be around. They could die, or you could die and be somewhere without them. You won't spend all of your life with people. You're going to have times where you're by yourself. You're going to have times where you kind of just have to rely on yourself. So I don't think you should just focus on other people and on them taking care of you. I think there needs to be an independence. I think you need to kind of learn how to be your own hero. But that's my opinion. Describe my unicorn person, or what I think a unicorn is. In my opinion and in my experience, I think I know INFJs get a lot of flack for being unicorns and rare, but honestly, I know several INFJs. In fact, I know many INFJs, and a lot of them are in my actual personal life. I dated a very unhealthy INFJ. I come to figure out. I know two INFJs at my college. One of them is my advisor, and the other one is a friend I actually met yesterday. Well, I knew him, but he introduced himself to me yesterday, and we exchanged Facebook things, so we know more about each other. Whoopee. Um, but yeah, like I know several INFJs, and they're not all the ones online on YouTube. And I'm also friends with an INFJ, over email, and I talk to her over email a lot. So, I know several INFJs, and I actually even know an ENFP. I almost dated her too. But I don't know any ENFJs in real life. ENFJs, in my opinion, are unicorns, because I've only ever talked to two of them, actually having real conversations with them, and both of them were amazing. But like, I've never talked to an ENFJ in like physical person. I mean, I have over video, but never in person. So, I think ENFJs are more rare than INFJs. Maybe it's just because it's the internet, but I honestly see a lot more INFJs than I do ENFJs. And, ENFJs, in my opinion, are unicorns. And in my opinion, a unicorn is somebody who is, their personality is not very common, and they're unique and different than most people. And I think NFs in general are unicorns because we're different. I think intuitives are unicorns because I think we don't even make up half of the world, in the sensor world, the sensor judger world, I guess, going by, type standards, I guess. I mean, I think there's a lot more to it than that, but I'm also a highly sensitive person and an empath, so, I guess that makes me a unicorn, but that's my opinion on what a unicorn is. If I could be another type for a day, who would I be and why? Well, I would probably be an ENTJ, just because, that's like the standard of what, at least in the West, everybody wants a man to be. Oh, you need to be this extrovert, socially, charming, dominant, super aggressive guy, right? And I would just like to see what that's like, because I've tried to fake that before, and it didn't really work out that well. I don't really function very well when I try to act like that. So to actually be that for a day would be nice. And if I said it was for a day, the questions, yeah, you already read it. But that's kind of what I would be. And I'd be like, yo, let's go. I'd call up all my friends and be like, yo, let's go to the nearest pub and let's just chat up all the women. Let's just also let's start a business, and I'm in charge, and we're gonna do things my way, and if you have a problem with it, you're fired. And yeah, let's start up a business in a day, and let's make it succeed in a day, and let's retire in a day. I would do all that in a day if I was an ENTJ. But yeah, that would be very interesting if I was one, if I could be one for a day. But I if you had to ask me, would I rather be an ENTJ or an INFP? I would probably say INFP, because it's just who I am. I don't want to change forever. I like to be who I am. But if I had to choose any type, it would probably be ENTJ, just because I'm intrigued by how I would be, how different I would be. So yeah. What type do I avoid the most? It would definitely be the ESTP. I don't know, it's just something about them that is just so not compatible. I was bullied by an ESTP in high school. And it's a shame, because we used to be friends when we were in elementary, and then he just changed and he started acting like this macho tough guy, and really I could see behind his facade. He was very insecure, and he had a lot of issues, and he had a lot of home life issues that caused him to kind of project his very wannabe, macho-ness onto everybody else, and he was very witty, so a lot of people liked him, but at the same time, a lot of people also hated him because he was such a narcissist. I'm trying to use polite words here. If I could really speak my mind, but I'm not going to do this on somebody else's channel. But if I could, I would be saying a lot more vulgar things. But he was just a narcissist, dude. And like, I know another ESTP, and he's not nearly as bad. He's still sarcastic, and I get along with him a little bit better. I don't really like to hang out with him like for too long, though. Just because that kind of energy drains me. And it's not that I have a problem with all ESTPs, but the ones I've run into, I really don't have a lot in common with, and I really don't have a lot to say. Now, the ESTP bully, he had a way of getting on everybody's good side. It was hard to hate him. It's hard to hate a guy who's really funny. I mean, if you notice that, like, but like, it's possible. But I don't hate him. I don't want him to die or anything. I don't want anybody to die, but I did get him out of my life, and ESTPs, in my opinion, are just they're people I can't really stand for too long. I can tolerate them, but I don't want to. I don't like to, and I don't like to be around people like that. Now, I'm sure there are ESTPs who are good people, who are, and I'm not saying these people are bad that I know. One of them is pretty cool, but I don't like to be around them for too long. It's just very stressful and draining, and it I don't know. I just don't like it, and I don't like their sarcasm and how they're putting everybody down, and it really makes me mad because I want to say, hey, like, dude, like, you know what you're doing to people, and it's like most of them just don't care. Like, they're like, oh yeah, screw off, like. And plus their music that a lot of them listen to, at least in America, is very cringy in my opinion, and a lot of them try to be like really hip hop cool, at least the ones I know. I'm not judging all of them, but I am, talking about my experience with them. I really don't like to be around them for too long. But yeah, that's just me. If an ESTP is bullying you, stand up to them. Just tell them they're not gonna have their way with you, and they'll go away. And if they don't, come out of your life. I was in high school, so I really couldn't get rid of them until I graduated. And I was like, you're not gonna be doing this to me anymore. So yeah. How to tell if an INFP likes you? Well, when I always had a crush on a girl, it seemed very like counterproductive, but I would avoid her. Like, I would ignore her. I wouldn't ignore her if she talked to me, which was rare because women don't usually talk to men first. Men are usually the ones who initiate everything. But I'd pretend to not be interested in her. I guess, I don't even know why myself. I guess it was to not look needy or desperate or anything. But that's what I always did whenever I liked a girl. We might be quiet and we may not say much. And if you open us up, if you talk to us, keep out for blushing and normal body language signs like that. Like everybody does, or most people do. You could tell by somebody's body language if you pay attention to it. If the person is interested in what you're saying, or if they like you or whatever. Just keep out for things like that. Keep out for things like blushing. And with INFPs specifically, we may avoid you, and it either means two things. It either means we really like you or we really hate you. I always had people just people who I would actually not like and I wouldn't want to be around, so I'd avoid them, and they would follow me around, and they would be like, and they would think that I liked them, right? You know, or they wouldn't even know any difference, but I did. But yeah. So that's what I do. That's at least for me, in my experience. What does every INFP need to hear? Well, I think every INFP needs to hear that, speaking from my heart here, that you are worth something, and you know, no matter what other people say, you know, you really can go out there and you know, be the best at whatever you do, or you know, just really be somebody of value. You are somebody of value, you know, and I know the world doesn't really understand you, but there are people out there who do. There are people out there just like you. There are people who have it a lot worse than you. So you never really have it as bad as you think. And instead of telling you to just, you know, get over it, I'm gonna try to sympathize with you, but at the same time, I don't think you should really victimize yourself because, you know, maybe the world doesn't understand you, because there are people out there who do, and there are people out there who love and accept you exactly for who you are, and they will actually like that about you. And they may be rare, there may not be that many, they may, you know, be different types of personalities, and which personalities may be rare, but I mean, in my opinion, it's quality over quantity. So I mean, would you rather have a few people in your life who are great to you and absolutely amazing, or would you rather have tons of people but they don't really care about you for you, and they don't really love you for you? And you know, I think that's what I would tell you guys, is that and there's always somebody out there who has it worse than you, and there's always somebody out there who sees good in you, and I see good in you. I see a lot of strength within an INFP, because, you know, INFPs, it takes a lot to live in a world that is completely opposite. You know, we live in an ESTJ world. You know, the world is run by ESTJs. You know, you got to be extroverted, you got to be organized, you know, you got to be logical, you know, and I may be speaking more towards men, but even for women, you know, women are the world is run by ESTJs, you know, and even women, INFP women have it hard. You know, I don't doubt that. You know, just INFPs in general, you know, just feeling misunderstood, or feeling, you know, just different, you know. And what I want to tell you guys is that there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with being different and feeling different, and you know, not being like everybody else, you know. And I mean, I've always felt it. I've always felt different, and it's not just INFPs, okay? It's I think it's NFs in general, and, you know, other personalities, and even, you know, maybe even there's some ESTJs out there who feel different. I don't know. But I mean, I think everybody kind of goes through something where they kind of have this like little streak of individuality, and where they kind of just feel different from everybody else. And I mean, I think that's a great strength of an INFP, that we have that, and we can embrace that when we're really open to it, and when we see our worth, and when we see our value, and we have confidence in who we are, and we can express that. And that goes back to what I said about self-expression and all this stuff, and why I love expression, and why I love authenticity. But that'll be about it for this question. Last thing, what does every subscriber of Sara MBTI need to hear? Well, Sara is a great person. I've talked to her a lot, and we've become very good friends. And you know, of course, she's an ENFJ, and, you know, I'm an INFP, so there's like a natural dynamic there. And you know, she's a good-hearted person, and she does a lot for her channel and a lot for the world. You know, she really cares a lot about things, and I really admire that. And you know, she puts a lot of work into what she does, and she loves what she does. I'm not nearly as big of an MBTI you know, person as her. I don't know much about it aside from my own, and that's just because I like to know about me, you know. And you know, I don't even know, you know, how much of MBTI or any of this stuff, you know, is 100%, you know, because I think personality is so diverse that you can't just like put it into like a type, you know, because people are so diverse and different, and there's so many different factors to how people are and how they function. But I think Sara does a pretty good job of you know, what she does on her channel, and making some of that clear. And definitely, if you haven't subscribed, subscribe to her, because she puts a lot of hard work into what she does. I just saw a notification on my phone. It was pretty funny. Sorry. Yeah, I got it off. But I'm recording on my phone. But I think that about wraps it up for these questions. It's taken me a long time to record. I got out of my class at 11 o'clock, and it's 1 o'clock right now. But that's because I've been recording and trying to upload the videos on my phone, and yeah, so and email them and stuff. So yeah, I couldn't stream this or anything, but I did send in my thoughts. So Sara, these are my thoughts, and from an INFP, one of many. I may not speak on the behalf of everybody, but I certainly speak on my own behalf, and I could have added a lot more, but I'm running out of memory on my phone, and I don't want to take up anybody's time too much. I already have. But thank you for having me on your channel, and I really appreciate it. And you know, keep going strong, because I think your channel is going to go places. So yeah, peace out, everybody.